If you're Gen X and feel like it's too late to fix retirement, it's not. But the numbers tell us something important about where we are and what still works. In the last video, we talked about why Gen X was set up to struggle. Today, we're talking about what you can do now, even if you're late to the game. This isn't hype. This is real numbers, real options, and real steps that help you maximize what you could still control. First, I want to set the frame to help understand how far behind are we. Only about 14% of Gen Xers feel like we've saved enough for retirement. Gen X expects to have about $603,000 saved, but believes they need about $1,700,000 to retire. Now, I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but this is what people believe. And what people are working against now is that average savings gap, the retirement savings gap of about $467,000. And most of us out there are feeling as though we are behind because when we run our numbers, we're still almost $500,000 behind what we think we're going to need. That, folks, is a real financial context. That is the context that we're working from. It's not for blame, it's just clarity. Now, one thing that's important to understand is that starting late, yeah, it hurts your retirement, but it's not too late. Generation X began saving at about the age of 36 as a whole, compared to millennials at 27 and Gen Z around 20, because we just didn't have access to the information. And that later savings meant less time for compound interest to grow, but it's not irreversible. Money invested sooner has exponential growth versus money invested later. So it's slower growth, but it's not no growth. You just have to start a little bit sooner. So the earlier you start, the better. If you want to get to the point where you're able to retire at some point, you need to start tomorrow. So what do you do about it? What does it mean? What do you do about it? First thing you can do is get your retirement contributions right. The recommended U.S. savings rate is about 15%. On the lower third, contributions of about 8 to 10%. But the idea is match out your employer match. If your employer gives you 50 cents on the dollar up to 6% of your salary, put in that 6%. Put in whatever you get. If you're over 50, which many of us are in Gen X, put in catch-up contributions. You can put in catch-up contributions, and I think they're over $30,000 this year. They just went up. And raise your savings rate 1% a year. Every year you get a raise. So instead of succumbing to lifestyle creep, take that 1% and put that towards, because 1% 5 years from now is 5%. You might go from 15% to 20% of your income, and that may make a huge difference down the road. And simple changes here can really tilt the whole retirement projection. Trust me, I was part of that 36. I didn't really get serious until I was about 36, 37. And here I am now, 3 years in, almost 4 years retired, or almost 3 years retired, something like that. I don't even remember. The next thing I'm going to suggest that you do is minimize your monthly expenses, but do it smartly. Don't just go out and start cutting stuff for the sake of cutting it, because then you're going to be right back. Some of the biggest wins that you might have are going to be around your housing costs, around your transportation, and around your debt reduction. Cutting those things out or cutting those things down. Let's say, for example, you cut $1,000 a month. Well, $1,000 a month may not seem like much, and it may not be what you could see. But if you take that $1,000 a month for a year, that's $12,000 a year, which over your lifetime could be over $300,000 in impact. So when you're looking at cutting that $400,000 delta, or whatever the delta is based on your circumstance, that's a good way to do it. And what I'll do is, in the description, I'll put a copy of a calculator that I created that you could put in your amount that you're saving, the time, and all of that, and it'll calculate based on some boilerplate percentages what you can anticipate to make over time with your investments. It's not perfect, and I know there's a bunch of other sites that have better baked out ones, but the goal is I want you to go out and do it now, not wait until some other time when you shoulda, coulda, woulda. The other thing I would recommend that I would start thinking about is starting to make work part of your retirement plan. Can Gen X redefine your retirement? Absolutely. It doesn't have to be a cliff. It's funny, I get into the comments and I have people all the time wanting to tell me what retirement is or what I'm doing. It's like, fine, you can say whatever you want to say, but the reality is we all define our retirements differently. I do a YouTube channel and I'm a master gardener. Those keep me busy, and I play golf. Those keep me busy. Am I working? you can call it what you want. I'm not working because I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And if exactly what you want to do is work, then more power to you. But I don't think you're here because you want to hear somebody tell you that you need to go back to work. Nearly half of Gen X prefer retiring before the age of 65, but only 37% think they'll ever make it. Part of what I'm trying to do is for those of us that are in the right place, that have been taking the steps, that maybe are in our own way from being able to retire, I'm here to help you with that. Because if you need $1 million, you need $1 million. But if you don't, then you need to know that based on your circumstances. So here are some of the things that you take a look at. So the other things to consider in terms of making your retirement plan, you might do some part-time work. That increases your runway. You don't need to take as much money out. You could work at a lower stress for a higher quality of life. Sometimes it's not about leaving work completely. Sometimes it's just, look, I just want to chill. I just want to have a good time. I just want to relax. I may want to do something different. So if that's working, that's working. The idea is being able to do what it is you want to do when you want to do it, or nothing at all. And delaying Social Security also earns you higher benefits. So depending on how Social Security is going to play into your plan, you may be able to strategize about taking Social Security later. So if you could fill your coffers with funds before that, then you get a bigger benefit down the road. Again, these are all things that you do on your terms, but they're strategically powerful. They're things that don't seem like much today, but can really change the early retirement picture for you. And then we have to build a soft landing for ourselves. 56% of Americans feel behind on retirement savings. And the reality is you're not the only one that feels that way. And feeling behind isn't a life sentence. It's not a line, it's a slope. It's a gradual transition. And the key is making it sustainable. So it starts with, I think, a huge mindset shift. And it's just little baby steps over time. You start to build some clarity. You start to focus on getting the good information, the right information, the information that's going to help you craft your plan. Because anybody on YouTube that tells you exactly what you need to do is lying, because they don't know, because everybody's circumstance is different. But you build some clarity, and just with the good information, then you start thinking about, what are some of the things that I can control? Can I control what I spend on X? Can I control what I spend on Y? Can I put more money away here? And as you start to build those habits, and I talk a lot on this channel about habits, and you start to build that consistency, those are the things that compound faster than any money alone. And I find that not just with money, but even with how I eat and my diet. You start eating better, and over time, it compounds over time, even though we want the quick answer. And the quick answer just doesn't work. So here's what this really tells us. You still earn valuable income. You still have access to tax-advantaged savings. You could still cut expensive and leverage work strategically. And you can plan smartly without having to start over. And I feel like a lot of us feel like we have to start over because we maybe didn't do everything right. But the reality is none of us did everything right. And for some of us, I could say that I had this perfect plan and all of that, but it was a cascade of good opportunities that I was prepared for that created the opportunity for me to retire early. But as I talk to people, I can't emphasize enough how important it is for you to craft your own retirement. Or as I like to say, you got to do you, boo. Because if you don't, you're going to be doing somebody else's dream. Then you're going to be 80 years old wishing you did it different. So if this helped you feel less alone, if you understand a little better what it is that we're trying to do as a community, because we're all here together. I just happen to have pushed through, but my role is to help bring others on that journey. And then, and let me know in the comments, what's your top strategy for the next 5 years? What's the one thing over the next 5 years you're going to do to get yourself closer to where you want to be? Because it's never my expectation that everybody retires, but it is my expectation that you live your best life. If you're living your best life, I got nothing to say. Or as Flavor Flav said, I tried to help you all I can, but I can't do nothing for you, man. And then subscribe if you want more practical, honest retirement guidance. Retirement doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be intentional. And I happen to get here because a series of things happened that needed to happen, and I'm fortunate about that. And I took wisdom when I had wisdom, And maybe if you're interested in hearing about some of the wisdom I had early on, I'll create a video about that because it comes from really unconventional places. And if you want to talk to me one-on-one, you could send me an email to the channel description. We have what I call the Chats with Salvador. I usually have a couple of conversations a week where I talk to people just about your situation and give you my input and let you know you can hear it from a real person. It's free. I try to be as flexible as I can. I got to get around my volunteering and my golf to be able to do it, but I make it work. And if you have a question about it, ask in the comments somewhere because there's been a bunch of people that have participated in them, and I think the information they got was good. And it's not me selling you anything. It's no particular information. It's just, hey, I'm Salvador. Hey, I'm so and so. Let's have a conversation, and we just kind of get after it. So, on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one short. But have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.